Hey, Karita Griffith Walker here, and I am giving you some high level food for thought for all of us dance educators out there in whatever style that you are teaching to give us some greater vision, inspiration, and focus for our dance classes and for our students. So I'm working on this series called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Dance Educators, modeled after the book of Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So we're talking about those principles and those habits and how they relate to us as dance educators. So we've covered the first 2 weeks. If you haven't seen those, go back and look at those videos about being proactive and beginning with the end in mind. And this week we are talking about priorities, and that habit being what Stephen Covey calls first things first. That's what he calls this one. I had a mentor named Rebecca Getahun Murphy who told me this story the first time, and I since read about it in Stephen Covey's book. So I'm not sure if that's where she got it or if she heard it somewhere else. And it's this idea of what you can fit into a finite space. So she says, you have a jar and you put in a bunch of big rocks and you hold it up and you say, is the jar full? And you have a class that says, oh yeah, a classroom of students say, oh yeah, this jar is definitely full. And then you pour in on top or into that jar full of big rocks, you pour in a bunch of smaller rocks, kind of pebbles, if you will. Pour those in and they start to sift down in and they say, now is the jar full? And the students go, oh yeah, jar is definitely full. So of course, then the teacher gets out the thing of sand, finely ground sand, and pours that in and says, now is the jar full? I said, okay, it's full, right? Some stories even say like you pour water in after that. So you see how it's going. Now, if you flip it and put those exact contents and those exact, the amounts of each of those contents, the big rocks, the small rocks, and the sand, if you put them in reverse order, something very interesting happens. If you start with the sand and then the pebbles and then try to put the big rocks on the top, all of the things don't fit in the jar anymore. Right? It's this amazing, amazing thing. I'm going to attach a video to this where I did this experiment with my children because I wanted to see it for myself. I'd heard the metaphor for years, but I actually wanted to test it out. So I took a little trip to Michael's and I got some stuff to test it out. So check that out at the end. But it was interesting to see like literally like rocks sitting on top don't fit in the jar anymore because the big rocks didn't go in first. But if you put the big rocks in first, your priorities, then you put in the smaller things, everything can fit. And I think this is such an important concept for us as dance educators, as human beings that are trying to figure out how to fit life in, right, to this finite reality of time and energy and all of these things. Now, I work with tap dance teachers in my tap teacher training program, and I can tell you how many tap teachers around the world are trying to figure out how do I fit everything into an hour class, a 45-minute class, a 30-minute class, God bless you, right? So fitting those things in, how do you fit different things in? And I can tell you that some people mistakenly do not have rhythm and timing as a big rock, right? So if you are a teacher who's thinking, okay, they've got all the steps, they just have to get the timing later, that means that we don't have the big rock in. And chances are your students over time will struggle, one, with understanding the reality of musicality, rhythm, and timing as a fundamental component to tap dance, but also then being able to achieve it because we're not introducing it right away, right? So that's one example. Now, certainly in the realm of race and dance history, I also work with teachers, regardless of style, around that. And I know so many people are trying to figure out, again, how do I fit in lessons around dance history into a class where I can't even fit in the technique stuff? Right? And so there's several ways to answer this, but I will tell you from my own experience about the kind of big rock experience that I had personally, which is part of what inspired me to get involved with this work with dance history. I grew up in studio culture, tap, jazz, ballet, that kind of thing. And so my whole life, I, know studio life, competition dance and all of that stuff. And when I, as an adult, started to teach, I taught primarily in studios, right? A few after school programs here and there, but primarily in studio life. And so when I stepped into studio culture, you do as the Romans do, so they say. So I, taught steps, taught the rhythm, taught the things, when I'm teaching tap dance. Now, as a tap dancer in New York, when I was living in New York, you definitely get a stronger sense of the legacy, the heritage. There's a baton being passed to you. And I was lucky enough to be around a few of the masters who've now passed away who are like handing you that baton. and taking that for what it is. And so I started to, over time, introduce some history stuff into my classes over time. But still light, very much about their technique and, maybe a few fun facts here and there about their artistry, about their style, things like that. That was me in studio life. When I moved back to my hometown, I started to do residencies in public schools, all kinds of public schools. And there was several of them that I did, and I'll tell you about one in specifically that I did a longer term residency, like 3 weeks, 10 sessions with the same students. Now, the second that the environment shifted to public school, I rethought my program entirely. The way that I taught in school assemblies, the way that I taught my in-class residencies, in the room with second graders, in the room with fourth and fifth graders, whatever. I changed the way that I taught, and I led with history. Just as an instinct, I step into a traditional academic setting. I go, well, I need to teach the academic part of this. I didn't even think twice about it. Here's the interesting thing. In that session, in that residency where I had 10 classes with fourth graders, with fifth graders, they had a performance at the end of those 10 sessions for parents. I still led with history and had time to teach them enough technique. This was a body percussion kind of a program where they could do a performance after those 10 sessions. So amazingly, even having the big rocks in there of dance history and teaching about the racial aspects of it as they apply to body percussion in the US and South Africa when it comes to gumboot dance and stuff like that, even fitting that stuff in, reinforcing that stuff over the course of the residency and giving them enough technique to actually do a performance on their own in front of their parents and the administrators of the school, it all fit. I still don't know 100% how, but that is the magic of the first things first dynamic. When you look at this experiment at the end of this video, you'll see what I'm talking about, that you put the big rocks in and somehow all the other stuff fits into place. Trick steps in any dance style probably aren't a big rock, but we can fit them in, right? People love them, regardless of the style. But is that a big rock? I have to teach them that kind of a thing that's new, that's tricky so that they stay challenged. Is that really the only way that our students stay challenged in any style? Or are there other things that are more fundamental to the roots of the art form that keep students challenged, right? So we think about what those big rocks are in our teaching, in our pedagogy, and what things are more like the small rocks or the sand. Yeah, and are we putting things in like they're big rocks, or putting sand in thinking that they're big rocks, like the trick steps, right? You know what I'm saying? So that is it for this week. First things first, we need to look at and revisit, because I know that you've already thought about it, like what are the most important things that I'm teaching in my classes? And let's think about it in a 21st century way, right? So, regardless for me of what I taught 5 years ago, and I did good work 5 years ago, I did good work 10 years ago, but evolving where I am with, what I feel like are the big rocks for me as an educator, what kind of legacy am I leaving? Looking at dance and the dance community as a greater contribution to society, I'm looking at history now as a bigger rock than I thought. It's definitely not sand, right? And obviously, with something like tap dance, things like improvisation are a bigger rock than a lot of people thought. It wasn't even sand at my studio, right? Tap dance and improv for so many tap dance programs around the world, that is the big rock. Like improv is like job number 2. Okay, learn a little something, then job number 2 is improv. But for me, it wasn't even sand. So it's like I'd completely reorient my teaching around that so that I could facilitate that kind of discovery for my students, and what a gift that is to give to our students, right? So when we are aligned with our big rocks, our vision as educators, who we want to be as human beings, as dance educators, and really aligning these different parts of ourselves in the space, I think that it still amazingly, magically leaves the space, gives the space for all of the other things that are great treats and wonderful aspects of our dance classes. All right. First things first. So if you are watching this video in February, early February or end of January 2021, I want you to check out some free workshops that I have happening. You can go to karitagriffith.com/BHM, as in Black History Month. I'm doing some free seminars about Black history lessons in dance classes. How do we approach that? What questions do we need to ask ourselves to think about what we need to deliver and all of that stuff? 100% free workshops. You can register for those by going to karitagriffith.com/BHM. All right. Have a great one and stay tuned for this experiment because it's awesome. Okay, guys, you ready?
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got my assistants here. We've never tried this, so we're going to see if it works.
We're going to see if it works.
Okay, so we're going to start with, this one is full of big rocks already. On this side, on Cody's side, that's her alias.
On Cody's side is Sissy's side.
Yes. So now we're going to start with the smaller rocks. We're going to measure that. We're going to measure a couple of them, and we're going to put them in. And we'll go pour it in like that. And we'll shake it, shake it, shake it. Shake it, shake it, shake it. Shake it, shake it, shake it. Let's see if we can get some more down in there. I bet we can. Oh. Let's see.
It's my boo-boo.
Okay. Shake it, shake it. We'll try a little more.
We can try a little more.
And I probably shouldn't have taken that big rock out even to do it, but let's try one more cup and see how much of that we get in there. One more cup and see. You shake it in there. Maybe half of it. Maybe half of it. So let's say 1.5. Can you say 1.5?
1.5.
1.5.
All shake it.
Yeah, we all shake it. I probably shouldn't have taken out that big rock. Now let's see if we can get some. So that looks really full, right? Does that look really full? Does that look really full? Does that look really full?
Yeah.
Now it's time for the sand. Ready for the sand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sand.
So the sand.
And then sand. You put it in.
This is going to be the really dicey part.
Mommy. You put it in.
Oh, I think we're going to put it into the smaller. Oh, goodness. Has a.
Oh, this is trying to open it.
This one has a cover on it. Sand. Yeah, close your teeth, baby. Sand. Sand. No, we can't scoop it with that one. That one's too big. So we can try the 1/4 cup. So we did like 1.5 cups of that. So we're going to put in 1 scoop. And look at it fill down in there. It's going down. And shake it. See it? It's filling down in there. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. That was 1 scoop.
It's a quick sand.
It's a quick sand. Let's do another one.
A quick sand. Maybe I can help you.
Oh, careful.
Look,
it's going down in there. See? That was 2.
It's a quick sand. Mommy, it's a quick sand.
Let's do 3.
See, it's going down.
We did 3 of them.
Mommy,
Let's do another one.
Here. Hold it.
Here, hold on.
I can help
We did 3, and now we'll do 4.
It's a quick sand.
4.
It's a quick sand.
And then this is 5, right, Naya?
Uh-huh.
Okay. 5. Wow. 5.
Gotcha. Got it.
We could try 6. You want to try 6?
Yeah. Hold it. Mama, I want to keep mine in.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go for this
Can I
6.
keep mine on?
It's not quite 6 scoops, so it's just a little less than 6. So now, that's it. That's it for this one. This one is full.
No.
Now we're gonna go into this one, and now we're gonna try the reverse order. So this one it was full of big rocks, and then we did a cup and a half of these,
My
and then
rocks.
6,
I
not
want to
quite
do my
6
rocks.
of these. But now this time we're gonna start in a different order and see if it still works. So we're gonna start with 6 scoops.
Me.
We're gonna start with 6
I want to do
scoops.
me now. I want to do me now.
Hold on, we're gonna start with this jar. First you have a turn, and then your sister has a turn. So now we're gonna pour it into this jar. Here we go. 1. Now it's your sister's turn.
Here.
Okay.
I have to do it all by myself.
No, mommy needs to help you with this because it's gonna be messy.
I want
1.
this.
Now that's 2. Now mommy takes a turn. 3. Now we need 3 more of these.
Mine.
We need 3 more of these scoops, and now mommy's gonna have to pour these so we don't spill.
I want it.
3.
My mommy. I want to pour it in. Then put it in and put it out. And pour it out there. We're doing our projects.
Yeah.
Mommy,
Is it
we all
3 already?
together.
Yeah.
Mommy, we all together.
Here we go. Another one.
I want to do my
This one is mommy's job. Okay.
Yep.
This is number 4. Now mommy has to pour these. Can you guys say? You guys ready? You said
Yeah.
4.
5, 6, 7,
5.
4.
6. Now that's it for the pink sand. All done with the pink sand.
We haven't done any work yet.
Yeah, that's because we have to switch the order.
Mommy,
This is getting loose, you guys.
it's not
No one
getting-
has slept. It is getting loose. 6. Now we need to, can you help me we're going to put the top on that one just to keep that one safe. Now we need a cup and a half of these rocks. Okay, ready? So now that's our 6 cups of sand. We did that first. Now you're going to help me put the cup and a half in here. We'll do 1 cup.
No, don't wait for that, okay?
Okay. 1 cup and a half. Do 1 cup and like a half is what I got before. There's a cup and a half. And now, guys, I want to see if we can fit these rocks in. Let's see if we can fit these rocks in. Ready? Can you guys put these rocks in for me? Can you put them in there?
Oh,
Put in the big one. Oh, yeah. Big one.
That's too much.
It's too much. Say, oh no. It's too much. And all of a sudden the big rocks
Oh,
don't fit.
no. Oh, it's getting loose.
Yeah.
Come out.
And that's how it works. Yeah, but when you start with the big rocks, you can fit in the big rocks, you can fit in some of the smaller rocks, and you can fit in all the same sand if you put them in that order. Big rocks first things
Well, no,
first.
it's getting loose.
Yeah, it's getting loose.
My do